Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 8 of the Creative Pause. I am Susan Padron, and I am here with my co-host, who I will allow to introduce herself.
Hi, it's good to be with you all. I'm Stacey of Stacey Faye Designs Jewelry. We are so excited to be here today, as we are every day, for this little boost of energy that this gives us and hopefully is giving you. We like to say we've created this show because we're in a time of solitude and fear for many, but this is really cultivating joy and connection and a sense of grounding, I think, for a lot of us. So hopefully you're finding that with each of these episodes. And today in particular, we will have a lot of grounding sort of coming in as we talk about stress reduction with Carlee. So we'll introduce Carlee in a moment. But before we do that, we always like to talk with you about how you're doing. And as you've seen episode by episode, Susan and I share how we're doing, and we invite the guests to do so as well. And any of you that are out there live, and also when you listen to the recording, we invite you to respond to this in some way. So you can chat and let us know how you're doing. You can write it down. You can say it out loud. But just use this as a moment to check in and see how it's going. So how are we doing? I'll start first since I'm already talking. My day is going much better than yesterday. Yesterday I was feeling really off and just it was a bit of a struggle most of the day to kind of stay mindful and present with my son and myself. And then today has been a bit better, I think, because I got outside earlier. That seems to make a big difference. And also just seeing some neighbors doing certain things. Like we saw our one neighbor today. Well, my husband actually saw him, but then reported back to me he was woodworking at lunchtime. So he was working on like building a table for his house. And I thought to myself, that will never happen, like aside from this time of quarantine. And there's something really nice about that. And it's also, of course, nice seeing people out and about doing things. So anyway, that's how I'm doing. How are you doing, Susan?
Doing okay. I had a little bit of a challenging morning. My son was just having one of those days where like everything was a battle, it was a fight. But then we went outside, and he's been working just a couple days on like trying to get to the point where he can ride his bike without training wheels. And he did it successfully. And it was like amazing. It was so, so exciting. And I think that was like a really awesome point in my day that like made a really big shift in that like positive direction, because I was really able to be present in that moment. And because I had nothing else on my mind, like I wasn't caught up about work or like having to prepare for anything besides this show that I love that we're doing. But I was able to just focus on him and be there, which I'm trying to really like sit with and allow that to just like sink in and appreciate it. So I was like so psyched to just tell the world, I was like, my son can ride his bike without training wheels, like, oh my god, it's exciting. So yeah, I think after that it's been a really good day, so I feel like I'm in a good place. Stacey and I were like joking slash talking about using sage and cleansing the energy of my space because my laptop was giving me some problems with yesterday's episode. And then I was like, I'm sorry, laptop, I didn't mean it. Like, I love you. It's like petting my laptop. And then I was like, okay, sage. So I think cleansing the energy of my space to help to just like, okay, today's a new day. It's a new episode. And I'm so happy to be here with Carlee too. So having her on board. So Carlee, how are you doing, my dear? Please share.
I'm actually doing really dang good today. I'm feeling really good. And it's funny because so I'll share like the thoughts that are going on in my mind right now, which is like uh it, like there's this kind of overtone right now where you're kind of not allowed to feel good. You're like you're not supposed to feel good. And so I'm very aware of that, but at the same time like I had an incredibly productive day. I got to take my dog on a long walk on the sunny side of the street, which is very important if you own a dog. In the winter, you walk on the sunny side. In the summer, you walk on the shady side. But that vitamin D just really, I think we all said the outside today. Like it was really good. And yeah, I'm excited to be here and to like connect with, just connect. So yeah, that's how I am.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I totally hear you on like the sunny side of the street and the shaded side of the street, like for sure. I mean, my dog is a chocolate lab, so I feel like he just feels the sun more so, especially in the summer. So it's like, gotta head to that shade. But if it's nice out, sun's all good. All right. So before we get into officially introducing Carlee, we would love to share with you a quote that Carlee shared with us today. So I'm going to do a quick little screen share real quick. And I love it because this is a quote by our guest, Carlee Myers, and it is, "I choose calm," which I think is fantastic. I mean, especially for Carlee's portion of the episode that she's going to be doing, but also with these times in general, like choosing calm, choosing joy, focusing on that positive and what you can control during these times is just major. Um, Carlee shared with us shared with me before the show today that "I choose calm" is an affirmation that you do. How often do you do that affirmation, Carlee?
Mostly Monday through Friday. Every once in a while, if I'm lucky, I do it Saturday and Sunday. But that affirmation is for me. Yeah, like I love how you were like, I choose calm, I choose joy, I choose this. Like that's what that is for me. Is like if let's say I wake up with anxiety, like I use like that is my affirmation to say like it's a choice to take actions to make myself feel better or to make myself happier or whatever that scenario is. And it's funny because I didn't I didn't know we were gonna like put my name underneath of it, but it's so it makes me feel that I feel legit. I feel so legit right now.
You are legit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, every single morning, along with probably about a dozen other affirmations, that is in my list.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that with us. Thank you for that gift. So, Carlee is the founder of the Stress Less Company, and she is an expert at helping professionals who feel overworked, overwhelmed, or on the verge of burnout. She helps them, relieve stress so that they can find more joy at work, home, and in other aspects of their lives. So I love that Carlee and I have been friends for such a long time now, and that's always been part of her mission. And I remember recently, Carlee, you shared your mission statement from art school too, right? And it was like focusing on, yeah, totally mind blown, on helping others relieve stress in their life. Am I like summarizing that correctly? Yeah. And I just think it's incredible, like how it's just been that constant thread throughout your life, really. And it's manifested in different ways, but it's always been there as the foundation.
Yeah, when I found that artist statement from years ago when I was in college, it was kind of scary. It was a little scary, but I was like, wow, whether it was, whether it was art, whether it's coaching, whether it's my business, like whether it's just connecting with a friend, like that's been my thing. And, I think I've been lucky to find my purpose, my sense of purpose so early. I used to say like when I was in college, I used to say that my purpose was to help myself. Like I have no other purpose but to help myself stress less. And I think I like by doing that work, I ended up doing something crazier than I ever thought I would be able to do.
So, Carlee, you're going to help us all stress less today, right? Like, oh my God, I am so psyched. And I know that Stacey can relate. I know our viewers can relate. How can we stress less? And I think that I love what you do with that because you're always so innovative with your ideas for how people can like eliminate stress or reduce stress. Like I was telling Stacey about your virtual karaoke party that you were doing on Facebook. I was like, what? That is just, it's brilliant. So we're thrilled to have you on today. So I'm going to pass the baton to you, my dear, and it's all you.
Thank you. Yeah. So first of all, I'm so excited about virtual karaoke on Friday. You have no idea. I'm so excited. But, I think that what I want to be clear on here, and I think my notes dropped on me. There they are. What I want to be clear on is that what you're not going to hear over the next 10 minutes from me is you're not going to hear that in order to manage your stress you need to eat right or get enough sleep or just go to therapy or exercise. Like, those are not going to be the things that I'm sharing, because quite frankly we already know that. All of us already know that. And whether they help us a little bit or they've helped us or not, sometimes there's just something else that we need to be doing to get us over that hump, over that, to that place of productivity, that place of joy. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to just start with, how I ended up here, like how I ended up doing stress management work and how I ended up finding out the tactic that I'm going to share with you, or the tool that I want to share with you guys today. So first of all, I want to just give a little bit of a trigger warning, because I am going to share my story, and it may be triggering for some. So I just want to give that. And then I also want to start by just having us all take a big, deep breath together. So let's go ahead and inhale and exhale with the sound. Let's do it again. Inhale and exhale with the silly sound this time. Maybe shake the body. Yes. Okay. So when I was 12 years old, a man was murdered in my house and my mom was shot 3 times. Let's take another deep breath. Okay. So around this time, I was 12 years old. My parents, things weren't working out between them, and they decided to go their separate ways for their own reasons. And my mom starts dating again, and she ends up dating quite frankly, a bad apple. My dad does his research on this new guy, because of course this new guy is around his two daughters. Ain't nobody gonna be around his kids unless he knows what their deal is, right? And he finds out that this guy is in fact a bad apple, and he goes to my mom and he says, hey, here's the newspaper articles, here's the background, here's all of this information on this guy. He has an extensive history of domestic violence. I just need you to know. And my mom at that point had a decision to make. Was she going to stay with this guy, or was she going to call it quits? And as you can imagine, as any good mom would do, is really just to say, hey, you know what? It's not you, it's me. I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to take care of my daughters. Of course, she didn't tell him that she knew, but she just broke it off and they went on their way. And on the anniversary, I think it was the 3-month anniversary, don't quote me on that timeline, but I think it was the 3-month anniversary of that breakup, that ex-boyfriend broke into my childhood home, killed my mom's new boyfriend, and tried to kill her. He shot her point blank in the back of the head, in her L5, in her spine, and through her arm. My mom was not supposed to survive. That is for sure. Now, my mom was put in medically induced coma, but over time, she ended up surviving, in fact, thriving. She had to learn how to walk again. She had to learn how to talk again. And actually, she had to learn how to swallow again. That was a requirement so that you can eat, right? And you don't choke, in order to get out of the hospital. And while my mom survived and she ended up thriving, you wouldn't even know it by looking at her today. All she has is a pair of reading glasses and a slight limp. It's crazy. I really struggled. I struggled with PTSD. I struggled with night terrors. I struggled with stress, overwhelm, anxiety. I mean, you name it, I was really struggling with it. And for the first bit of that time going into that, I kept it a secret. I didn't tell anybody that I was struggling. And luckily, there was one night where I opened up to a high school boyfriend, and he created safe space for me. Thank goodness for that, Prince Charming. And I ended up starting to open up to other people. And I was like, I would say things like, hey, I'm stressed, or hey, I'm overwhelmed, or hey, I'm really struggling right now. Do you have any advice? And I would get the same answers over and over again. Those answers that I mentioned earlier, right? Hey, Carlee, have you tried meditating? Have you tried going to therapy? Have you tried exercising? It always makes me feel better. And the reality is that I was so desperate for change that I definitely had tried all of that. I had tried that plus some. And while some of it worked, it didn't get me over that hump. I didn't feel, my night terrors were certainly not going away. My jumpiness wasn't going away. My stress wasn't going away. And maybe it was getting a little bit better, but quite frankly, I saw a version of my life where I could be joyful and be contented and be silly and feel all of those beautiful states of mind. But those things weren't getting me there. And so as a result of getting all of this advice that quite frankly didn't work, I spent 10 years struggling. 10 years of my life struggling, where I felt like my just mind was tearing me apart from the inside out. And I struggled until I found the thing that worked for me. And that thing was creativity. More specifically for me, it was drawing. I was drawing out my night terrors. I was drawing out my emotions, things that I just couldn't open up with at the time. And slowly but surely, my night terrors started to go away. My jumpiness, my overwhelm, like things were starting to flow. And I finally got to a place where I was like, oh my, is that joy? Is that joy that I'm feeling right now? Right. But more specifically, what I found was this thing called creative stress reduction. Creative stress reduction. And creative stress reduction is anything that gets us out of fight or flight mode and into a state of play. Because the thing about fight or flight mode is that when we're in that state, especially right now, talking about our current circumstances, when we are in fight or flight mode, one of the first things to go is good decision making, right? First thing to go. I've seen so many memes and seen so many social media posts about people buying stuff online that they do not need, right? Fight or flight mode. I need something to feel safe. Well, this lipstick is not going to do it right now, or, whatever it is. And so doing that creative stress reduction to get us out of fight or flight and into a state of play is huge. Because not only is it going to make us feel better, but it's going to help us make better decisions for us, for our health, for the health of others, for all of the reasons. The laundry list, the list is infinite. And so what I want to do today is I want to share how you can figure out what creative stress reduction activity works for you, or which one works for you. Because that's the first step. The first step is to be able to think clear, so that then we can get to the deep work, right? Where we go into, okay, how do I address the money issues, and how do I address my job, and how do I address this, and how do I address that? We got to do that from a clear state of mind. So the first step to find the creative stress reduction that works for you is to explore. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when I work with clients, the first thing that I ask them to do is I ask them to write a list of at least 100 items. And some of you guys are like, your jaw is probably dropping to the floor right now. 100 items, right? No, but 100 items. And this is extensive for a reason. 100 items that you love doing, being, seeing, having, experiencing. And this can be anything. So this can be having that glass of wine. It can be eating that cookie dough. It can be going on the walk. It can be playing with your dog. It can be reorganizing your closet for the 15th time. It literally can be anything. Now, once you have that list, this unedited, no wrong answers list, you're going to ask yourself 3 questions. And actually, in this scenario, we're going to ask 4 questions. First question: is this item going to put me or someone else in harm's way? That's the new question based on where we're at right now. Okay. If it's going to put you or someone else in harm's way in terms of, could it get someone else sick, you're going to cross it out. All right. The second question you're going to ask is, based on my history, based on my trauma, based on my stuff, is this item going to trigger me? So for instance, I put yoga on my list, and I love me some yoga, but There are certain types of yoga that do this thing called box breathing. You inhale for a certain count, you hold for a certain count, exhale for a certain count, hold for a certain count. One of the symptoms of my PTSD was nightmares, and some of those nightmares were drowning nightmares, right? What happens when I go and do box breathing and I hold my breath? Trigger. I'm drowning. This yoga is no longer relaxing anymore, right? So cross the items off that based on your history may trigger you. The third question that you're going to ask is, does this item fit into my resources? My time resources, my financial resources, my social resources. So under normal circumstances, a lot of folks will put down that trip to Hawaii or that fancy vacation, that exciting adventure on their list. But then we go to their bank account and it says $10, right? And now I'm not saying that we can't go on the vacation, but I'm saying that's not going to be the creative stress reduction that works for you. You might get there in 5 years and you can still do that for yourself as an act of self-love, but it's not going to be the thing that's going to serve you right now to reduce your stress. So we're going to cross off the items that don't fit into our financial circumstances, that don't fit into our social circumstances, and even our time. So a lot of what I've been getting a lot currently is, I'm a mom, right? I'm hearing a lot, I'm a mom. I don't have the time to do X, Y, and Z. It takes 5 minutes or less, 1 minute, 60 seconds. Be realistic about that. And then the last question, this is probably one of the most important questions to ask yourself, is if I did this every single time I was stressed out, would it be healthy? So if I drank a glass of wine every time I was stressed out, would it be healthy? Probably not. We'd probably all be going through quarantine crunk, right? So no, if I ate cookie dough, or if I ate cookies, or that whatever that go-to food for you is, every time we were stressed out, would that be healthy? Probably not. Look, I bring up cookie dough because that's like my favorite go-to snack. If I did that every time I was stressed out, I'd probably be in the hospital with food poisoning from all the raw eggs. No, right? Like, not good. And so what you're going to be left with here after you cross all of these out are the creative stress reduction activities that are 1, healthy, 2, accessible, and 3, realistic for you to move on right now to start managing your stress, to get out of that fight or flight mode and into that state of play. So what's left here is you're going to look through and you're going to say, which ones of these make me super excited? Like, which one of these am I like, can't wait to do this yet? Like, you're like singing about it like Tina from Bob's Burgers or something, right? You're so excited about that you're singing, that you're circling, right? So you're going to circle those top 2 or 3. I know for me, I redid my list recently, and it was those mini trampolines. I was like, I need that in my life. Yes. Like, that was one of my things that I circled. And it made such a difference for me. It definitely got me out of that fight or flight mode. Now, once we get those items, once we circle those, the next thing is just to take action. And this is really important because if we don't take action, I mean, this piece of paper with a bunch of stuff on it really does us no good. And so what I would recommend in order to take action is to go to Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. Now, I don't have time to go through it today, but it's going to really help you get past all of those fears, all of those inner thoughts that are going to prevent you from taking action. And it's going to help you launch right into action today. And then lastly, the last thing that you're going to do is, as you're exploring these items, this creative stress reduction, abandon what doesn't work for you. So if you try something and let's say you want to go on a walk, and the whole time you're on the walk, you're thinking about all the work you have to do, and it's just making you more stressed out, you're going to go back to your list. And you're going to be like, cross that out. Thank you. Abandon what doesn't work. And then as you're exploring, continue to do what does. Continue to do what serves you, and notice, okay, this is the kind of, if I'm sad stressed, this works. If I'm angry stressed, this works. And really allowing yourself to explore and to continue to do the things that work for you. So make your list, narrow it down, take action, and I guarantee you, you will find yourself in that state of play, that state of flow, that state of joy that we're all looking for. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, Carlee, like, wow. I mean, wow. I love so much like that idea of making a list of 100 things. Like I want to do that tonight and see what's on my list. I was also like blown away too by something that you mentioned just like quickly at the end about like the different types of stress, like sad stress versus angry stress, and the concept that different things can work depending on how you're stressed.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was just a little like nugget slash bomb that like you just threw in there, and I was like, whoa. I have so much to like process and think about and try, and I am excited to do it. So thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, and Carlee, I know you only have just a few more minutes with us, but I had a quick question. So I know myself and others, when you get into a deep place of maybe trauma or fear or your paralysis, sometimes you're like, I don't even know what brings me happiness anymore. I don't even know. Do you have any recommendations for how to get past that mental hurdle to be able to make the list and sort of purge that out of you?
Yeah. So there's two routes you can take here. The first route is to just write down all the crap that doesn't make you happy, so that your brain, because sometimes if you tell your brain to not do something, it's like, but I want to do it. So just like humor it and just write all that out. And then you'll be able to get to that other, it's kind of like turning on an old garden hose and all the muddy, gross water comes out first, and then you get to the clean water. So that's one way. And then the other way that you can take, if you want to take a kind of a roundabout approach, is to say, what brought me happiness as a kid? That's how I ended up at the trampoline idea. I was at like 60 something. I was like, I'm out of ideas. Right. And I went back to what brought me joy as a kid. And that really got me flowing too.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. And I'm happy to answer any other questions, virtually after this. And I know we talked about, since I do have to run, for all of your listeners, if you feel like you need some extra support, I'm going to offer each and every one of you a complimentary 30-minute call. And so this is 1, to get to the root of your stress, 2, to create an action plan to de-stress, to get out of stress, and 3, to see how I can support you to move forward. And so I'm sure I can share the link with Susan, so I don't have to spell it all out for you guys, but it'll probably be in the show notes somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be in the YouTube show description. It'll be in the YouTube show description. So yeah, that'll be available for all of our viewers. So thank you, Carlee. Thank you for being here. And I know you have to run, so I will bid you farewell, and then we will conclude.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. All right, so we just have the last little bit of our show to do at this point, but I didn't want Carlee to feel like she was interrupting us when she had to leave. So Stacey, you want to do our final?
Yeah, so I hope today was really helpful I know I found it helpful for thinking creatively and expansively about what maybe can relieve some of our stressors lately as we are hunkered down here. And so thank you to Carlee and all of you for listening. And we like to end our show with a Mary Oliver quote that we love from one of her poems, which is, "What will you do with your one wild and precious life?" So I think tying in with today's episode, what 100 things would you love to to do to sort of, reduce your stress, spur your creativity, and just bring a smile to your face, in the days coming up, even if you can't socially interact. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you tomorrow at 5 Eastern time on Zoom.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.